So to finish off these notes, what I want to do is I want to explain a few kind of more applicable situations of using formulas in these literal equations. So the first one talks about what is the radius of a circle with a circumference of 64 feet. So for this, you need to know the formula for circumference. I would give you this formula if we were on a quiz or a test. So this formula for circumference is 2 times pi times r, the radius. So what I would be asking you to do is substitute for the right variable, and then solve for the variable we're trying to find. So what we are trying to find the radius. So we are trying to find r. We are given circumference, meaning we are given c. So if we had to rewrite this, knowing c, I would write this as 64 equals 2 times pi times r. Okay? So I'd have to get rid of 2 and pi. Okay? And they're both being multiplied. So I can divide both sides by 2 pi. And when you put this in your calculator, to divide, make sure you put 2 pi in parentheses. Okay? I know it says use 3.14 for pi. I'm going to show you guys where that pi button is on your calculator and be able to use it to get more of an exact answer or solution. So our solution here is going to be an approximation. We're going to round to just one decimal place. We're going to round to the nearest tenth. So if we do this in our calculators, we should get a radius of about 10.2. And if you see our units were in feet, I'm going to say it's a radius of about 10.2 feet. Okay? So it's just recognizing this was multiplication. I undo it by dividing. Okay? Moving ahead, it says what is the height of a triangle with an area of 24 square inches and a base with a length of 8 inches? Again, I'll give you the formula for area of a triangle. The area of a triangle, I'm going to say is the base times the height divided by 2. Okay? So I'm asking you for what the height is of that triangle. We are solving for h. It gives you an area of 24 and a base of 8. So I'm substituting in for a and b. I know that a is 24. So this becomes 24 equals base of 8. So 8 times the height divided by 2. So I'm given area and base. I can plug in for a and b. So for me to solve this, I got to do two things. I've got to get rid of 2 and I've got to get rid of 8. The way I get rid of 2 is multiplication, because multiplication undoes division. So this becomes 48 equals 8h. To solve this, I divide both sides by 8. The height of that triangle is 6 inches, using the units we started with. So take what's given to you and then solve for what variable you know to be looking for. Okay? So it's doing a little bit of translating. Okay? So I'm going to have you do I'm going to do the next example with you, and then the last example I'm going to have you guys try on your own. So this next example involves distance and speed and time. So this example says the monarch butterfly is the only butterfly that migrates annually north and south. The distance a group of monarch butterflies travels 1,700 miles from Indiana to Mexico. It takes a typical butterfly about 120 days to travel one way. What is the average rate at which a butterfly travels in miles per day? So, this formula that we're going to use, and this is a very, very useful formula in science, is distance equals rate times time. So, I'm asking you to find what is the average rate. So I'm asking you, we're looking for R. We're given a distance, 1,700 miles. That's a distance, so that's D. and a time, 120 days. So that's t. So knowing d is 1700 because it's a distance, us not knowing r, but us knowing 120 days is the time, we can solve this. And it's just one step. We divide both sides by 120. So when I do this, I divide both sides by 120. So I'm going to use my calculator to divide those. And what happens is I get about, I'm going to use these little squiggly lines to say about. It's 14.166, and that's going to repeat forever. So I would say the rate is about, I'll say round to the nearest day, 14 miles per day. That's the rate those butterflies are traveling at. So it's setting up the equation, which I gave you, and then solving that equation for the variable. So this next example, it's the same kind of problem as the last one. I'm going to give you distance equals rate times time, and then I want you guys to set up and solve that one. Okay, so I'm going to pause the video. I'm going to have you guys try that one, and then you can check your answers with me. Okay, so to finish off this example, I kind of wrote out the information. I knew distance was 5,000, so d is 5,000. I knew rate was 91, so I said r was 91. I substituted those into the equation, and I realized I just got to divide by 91. Now, for my solution, I got about 54.945, ... So I rounded that up to 55 days. So it's important in these problems that you know what unit we're getting. So in this one, the time was in days. So now, through all that, I think you guys are ready for the practice and then possibly the checkpoint if you have gone through these notes. For the practice, do not just copy down the answers. I've seen some people starting to copy down the answers. You're going to start redoing lessons if I notice that you're just copying down answers and not taking the practice seriously. This is not about speed. This is about practice and getting better at the concept. So move on to the next step in the lesson.